All right, hello and welcome back to another live stream. I'm Miranda, and let's just go ahead and jump into who all is in this chat tonight to hang out with me for the next 90 minutes as we panic about the amount of stuff left to work on before I head out this weekend. Anyway, Chronic Toast, welcome. Good to see you, man. J. Alex, welcome to the chat. Alorian, hello from America. I hope things are doing all right over there. Samuel, welcome. Viper Taha, welcome. Todd, appreciate you joining us. Paul, thank you so much as always for being my moderator. John Takis, I feel like that you're kind of new. Welcome. Good evening from Massillon, Ohio. Ooh, lovely. It's probably cold over there. Jay and Scott, welcome. Cyber Dragon, hi. And Mandragora, hey. Look, I'm starting on time. Things are working out all right so far. That said, I finally got my lists together on Sunday, I think, for the tournaments that I'm going to be playing in this weekend, and I got signed up for an Iron Gauntlet qualifier. So that's going to be interesting. But Saturday I'm in a team tournament. Never met my teammates before. I'm going to meet them hopefully Friday. Otherwise, Saturday, whatever, we'll just jump into it, right? It's a 3-man team tournament, and then Sunday is the Iron Gauntlet qualifier, but I can only take so much with me because I'm flying, so I've been having to compact my lists and make sure that everything fits. So that's what I'm actually going to work on tonight after I finish live streaming. I'm going to put everything out on the table and then Tetris it into my backpack. It's going to be awesome. Yeah, so that said... Let's see here. Hello to all the regulars. Wow, Paul. Thank you for the joke there, Jan, Scott. So I'm working tonight. As you can see, he's already kind of largely done a Rager. So this is one of the newer Warjacks based on the Berserker chassis that came out years ago for Khador. And they're unstable, so if you feed them focus, they always have a chance of blowing up, but they have some pretty neat little abilities on their own. I kind of started in on the baseline tier. You can see the arc markers here on either side. I did this right before going live, so I figured I'd just finish it up on stream so that you guys weren't just waiting on paint to dry. That's sort of the idea anyway. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what else is going on here. What are you guys working on? And do you guys have any tournaments this weekend? Or actually, I was kind of curious to talk about like pre-tournament preparation and or stress management. Because it's been a little while since I've been in a tournament, and I'm probably going to get my butt kicked. It's going to be great. Compressed Khador, exactly. So I've got a really nice battle foam backpack that's perfectly laid out for holding an army. I'm going to see if I can't get 3 armies into it. Now, there's a lot of overlaps there. I should be able to get away with a fair bit on it, but it holds all of the accessory cases, and it's got all these side pockets, and it's got like a cushion, so it's really comfortable to walk around in. So I definitely want to take this because it's probably what I'm just going to be walking around with all convention. So that part will be okay. Wow, lots to do. Yes, Cyber Dragon, you are completely correct. Mandragora, I hear you about stuffing your luggage. So I want all the people to talk about my minis. Ooh, let me try that again. I hear you about stuffing stuff into your luggage. Next sentence. I so want all the people I talk about my minis with to see my Chaos Army, but when I think about how I could pull off taking it all with me, yeah, that would be the hard part. You're playing all War Machines, so yes, at Indie Storm, I won't have room for any sort of kill team stuff or 40k, especially not any 40k, because when I play Imperial Guard, I'm running Valkyries and Lehman Russes, and like they kind of I carry them in actual Tupperware containers with that weird rubbery mat stuff that you put in cupboards to kind of hold them in place because they're such odd shapes. So very clunky to bring. However, when I go to Genghis Khan in Denver, or in Aurora, I should say, outside of Denver, in a couple weeks, then I will probably bring my Imperial Guard at that point, because then I'm just driving up and that will be much easier to cram my car full of stuff. So, kidnapping and dragging them to my house is the only real option. There you go. I guess if you let them go at the end, no harm, no foul, right? You say compressed Kador, I say Rulik. Fair point, Jan Scott. I haven't checked on like how the Ruliks are doing. I don't know like how they are in the tournament scene. I kind of haven't been, I mean, I've been checked out of a lot of the tournament scene stuff for War Machine for a long time. However, anytime I have been in a tournament, people have always been really nice. So I'm just going to rely heavily on that and assume that's what's going to happen this weekend. And yeah, that'll be basically my whole life. Kador, my Mikey V, how you doing? You miss War Machine? Well, let's play some games, man. Alfonso, hey Miranda, been a while. Oh, I know. Hope you've been all right. Good to see you back there. Packing 3 armies and having to leave room for con swag. So, trick for that. 1, if you have friends locally, that's really awesome because then you're like, here's some money, mail this to me. Otherwise, you can usually get to a post office on the way. Otherwise, you just pack fewer clothes. Packing, yeah, that's a lot. Finishing up my Man of War Demolition Corps. Last models before the army I've been working on has, as a project, are 100% done. Oh my, nice. So for your demo corps, do you have Dragovich, like the new attachment that actually makes them decent? Because honestly, I feel like they made them fairly useless in Mark III without the attachment. Paul, I've been building my sister kill team in prep for week 1. Jeez, the parts are so tiny and awkward. Little lady hands and such. I saw your amazing kill team picture earlier. Anyone do 3D resin printing? I'm thinking of getting the Elegoo Mars Pro when it reaches Europe for bolters and insignias mainly, and the odd terrain piece or miniature accessory. Not stated. So, I was at a convention 2 weeks ago. When was Albuquerque Comic Con? Anyway, whenever that happened, we went by the makerspace, and it's a different makerspace. There's another makerspace. It's a whole thing, and they have resin printers, and the resin printers seem really interesting, and they're really good for that high detail stuff. It probably doesn't matter necessarily which one you get, but you probably want to really care about where you're putting it because resin printers stink, and you don't want to be anywhere near the fumes. And you have to clean them whenever they're not going to be used because otherwise it gets really gunky. That's my understanding of that. Are you competing at Adepticon? Unlikely. Still trying to make sure I get to Adepticon. Cyber Dragon, I have Kador and Signar battle boxes from late 2nd, early 3rd edition. War Machine, along with a couple of infantry units. RL stuff kept me from playing. Will I be able to use this stuff to get started now? Yeah, none of the models are expired or anything, so you can always bring any of that back over. If you're talking about the Mark II battle boxes for Kador and Signar, so you've got Striker and you've got Sorsha. I think the very first Kador battle box had the Butcher, but then they went to Sorsha because she's vastly superior in every single way. So you probably have those 2 models, and they are completely useful, and they're actually still some of the stronger casters in the game. Whenever I saw Mark III hit, they really didn't change a lot of those models. You've got a Juggernaut and a Destroyer in that battle box, so the Juggernauts are just useful across the board. They're going to be in all my lists because Juggernauts are just solid. And as far as the Destroyers, a little more situational because you're talking about, I want to say, Rat 4 guns. That might still, I don't think they bumped the Rat on any of the Kador jacks at all, so you definitely need to make sure you're able to knock out the defensive things, unless you're going for super low armor targets and you're just wanting to AoE them. But it's only a 3-inch AoE, so not great. Mailing con swag is great. See, everyone knows what's up. Mr. War Machine Bat Reps. Well, tell you what, I'm going to have like a dozen games under my belt after this weekend, so I feel like I can probably jumpstart into some games again pretty easy. Have you tried using organizer boxes for sewing kits as storage for your minis? No, I don't think I've used those. See, the problem is, like, since storage became this whole trendy thing, storage boxes got expensive. Has anybody here ever been to the Container Store? It's absurd. Like, you never pay so much for boxes, so I'm really cheap about that. I've seen the really cool boxes. I think Staples has them where, and you get them on sales, or I get them on sales anyway. But they're just the clear kind of Tupperware boxes with a separate lid, and they the handles fold over and lock it. Like those are really really nice and solid, and they stack really well, which is one of the other things that I have trouble doing. Basically, my models are haphazardly every which way. When I was making my lists this last weekend, I was pulling models from like every room in the house. It's a little bit of a mess, so I think I'm gonna have to really explore spring cleaning when I get back. I didn't have many local players, but my son's interested in a Crix army, so yay. Crix, so strong. Yeah, he'll have fun with that. That's the and they're really good against both Kadar and Signar because they just take away what the opposing army has. Yeah, so you print next to an open window. Yeah, so you know what's up. I do have Drago, painted him during stream 2 weeks ago. Oh, sweet. There you go. 2 weeks. Same time you were. Gosh. I'm sorry. I don't remember. You probably have him more finished. This is as finished as I got my guy. So I have to get his basing on, and I'm basically going to have to call him good enough. I can probably still throw on a wash, but, you know, it is what it is. I just need to have colors and look like actual painted models for the tournament. That's the only thing I care about, and it's one of the things that's even limited my list building, because I care about these things, and they are important to have painted models, people. Come on. Let's see here. Anyway, sorry, Shale. My memory is garbage. Currently working on assembling some Mantic Games minis while I watch and listen. Oh, very fun. Do you ever play Grimkin anymore? I did. I played it at Valhalla. It was fun. I love Grimkin. I actually did better with Grimkin than I did with Kadar, but Kadar's my first love, and I'm going to stick to it. Hides his old Kadar and Signar models and clamp packs on his shelf. Yeah, so I like Striker and Sorcerer. Yeah, they're solid. They are solid. Like I sent Miranda was a sister leader. I made her kill team legal. She has 2 right hands. There you go. Sorcerer, arguably one of the best warcasters in all of War Machine. I don't know that I'm super in love with Sorcerer 3, though. They really kind of took her whole shtick and then just put her in big chunky armor, and I don't know. It's real. Container store, that's a real thing. That's a real thing. Takes up like a whole corner of the mall. Holy cow, storage boxes got insane in prices. Yes, because everything got trendy about it. It's frustrating, actually, because you're like, I just want a box. I don't need to pay like $27 for a box that I'm going to put like, you know, your junk in, or like, you know, little bits and odds and ends and all that. Like, I just gave in and always budgeted for battle phone purchase every 4th of July for each army project. Oh, it's definitely smart, Ruben. Metal boxies. Yeah, old Donna War meme. Gotcha. Maybe closer to Christmas. So many projects. I was thinking of converting them for Sisters minis, but yet another project. Yeah, they always build up faster than they get done, especially if you care about like doing it right, and then it's just going to take so much longer. I like War Machine because I feel like I'm playing actual characters with backstory lore, especially Sorsha. Lots of off-brand models with plans to convert to GW stuff. Joshua, oh my gosh, hi, how you doing? Hi. Colin, welcome. All those defunct little games. Hey, I can make an Imperial Guard out of those. Or Sisters, or Marines, that's true. That definitely works. Yeah, the character stuff. So it's a mixed bag whenever you play War Machine and you look into playing the Warcasters, right? Because GW always had the strength of, oh, I'm just playing this Imperial officer, or, I mean, yes, there's Space Marine characters, but there's a lot of no-name special models that you can kind of give your own story to, and I think that appeals to a lot of people as well. And War Machine probably would have done well to have done at least some of that. I like the characters as well, but I mean, it's a little hard because most of the fan base didn't read any of the damn stories about them, so it's not like that mattered. But also, it just sort of limits you. Like, things like caster draft and stuff seemed like they were exploring the ideas of, oh, could you make your own warcaster? And then obviously the IKRPG lets you do that, but I think they haven't quite figured out. Well, I say that. Warcaster's coming out, so who knows there. All right, so I'm just gonna get this gold trim here on the sides of the base because I like to make it pretty. And no question about where your arc markers are. Because when you play War Machine, you need to know what's front and what's back. It's very, very important. Especially since everything wants to go charging you in the back. So frustrating. I guess there's some models it doesn't matter for, but I mean, really. That doesn't apply to Kador. I mean, maybe one of the butchers, but who cares about him? He's stupid. Sorry, I'm feeling really sassy today, guys, so bear with me. Tried to get in a nap, but it's been a bit of a rough week, and then I feel like the weekend is just barreling toward me. It's like, okay, well, I'm on a plane Friday morning, and tournaments all day, well, let me see, so yeah, I'll be getting in Friday night, tournaments all day Saturday, Sunday, fly back. It's gonna be a very short trip, back to work Monday. Try not to die in traffic. And, you know, that's the thing. Ah. Let's see, I did see one option where a player took plastic containers, put parts of cardboard tubes or boxes around his minis, and then used spray foam to fill in the gaps. Looked terrible, worked well. Fair enough. Still playing a lot of WoW, been diving headfirst into streaming Battletech. Been a lot of fun. Oh wow. Battletech, you'd fit in well in Albuquerque, man. A lot of people here love them some Battletech, which I still haven't really played, although, what was it, Adepticon last year? They had like a Battletech booth, this dude like selling the minis. That game has stayed alive and well, considering they don't really put out a ton of miniatures or constantly change the game. So they're one of those interesting examples about like how you keep a player base, because there's a lot of armchair theories about running successful game companies, and being friends with nerds, we all think we know everything, and so, you know, you hear that talked about, oh, you gotta keep miniatures coming out, and you gotta change the rule set and keep it interesting, or people leave. Or they've been playing Battletech for the last, like, 25 years, whatever. So, I think it's just, I think part of it's know what you're good at. Yeah, I am curious if the new Warcaster game is going to be custom-made Warcasters. Oh, it can be so good or it can be so bad. I don't know what they're going to do. Yes. But yes, to answer your question, I haven't been streaming a lot of WoW. I've just been playing a lot of it, but I've kind of been resorting to raid logging lately because I got busy with New Year stuff and trying to actually create content for the channel. That's not just you guys sitting and listening to me rant for 90 minutes while I sort of paint a model. So I've been working on that. And, but yeah, so we've been raiding Molten Core. I still haven't gotten my damn Bone Reaver's Edge, and I want it so bad. And I'm gonna be gone the first week of raiding Blackwing Lair, so that'll be fun. But it is what it is, you know, got stuff to do. But it's been fun. We've been doing some PvP, getting a little bit stronger. I don't want to see you this weekend. Hope you have a blast. Well, thank you, Joshua. I'll see you around at some point. Off to lurk for a bit. I'll be here. Thank you. Mandragora. Oh, I hate that. Like, Village Attacks is a great game. It has lots of expansions. Someone made a custom box that fit everything, but they charged $100 for it. Same as Base Pledge. Too far. There you go. Quick question. How long did it take you to get a decent-sized community on your channel? So my channel started in 2012, and YouTube has changed about 480,000 times since then, between its algorithms, between what they want as far as content on their channel, and a whole slew of other seemingly arbitrary things that they do. So by summer of that same year, I'd hit 1,000 subscribers. I started in March, so it's at 3 months. And then it sort of grew pretty rapidly early on. It only slowed down once I sort of slowed down on the battle reports, and that was like around the 30,000 mark, probably. So, and I don't know what you're counting as a decent-sized community. I have an amazing community, because my fans are awesome. Cyber Dragon also have that problem with with board games. Aftermarket inserts are so expensive. Oh, I'm sure it's a whole market, right? I feel like the weekend is rushing also. Oh, good, Paul, you know what I'm talking about. Excited for the Kickstarter minis to come in this year and next. The new Battletech sculpts look awesome. Sweet. Good evening, Miranda. Thank you for the show, and if any creep has problems, just let me go. Okay. I wanted Battletech Mercenaries for Steam, but at the last minute they went Epic Games exclusive. Oh, I'm sorry. 1 year exclusive. Jeez. Sitting and listening to rants is the cornerstone of TV, basically all the news nowadays, so not bad methodology. I appreciate the supportive statement, but I feel like, I don't know, hopefully my rants are at least vaguely interesting and there's some nugget of usefulness in them. Should be available on Steam before Christmas. Oof. Oh my gosh, I've got so many Steam games to catch up on because some dork in the chat bought me Tabletop Simulator. And so we found out we can play Kill Team that way. So as soon as I figure it out, I'm going to see if I can't get more Kill Team games in online where I can, you know, be at home and drinking tea and not have to leave and go outside in the sun. So that might happen. Wow, constantly changing rule sets, especially for smaller games. Ask Fantasy Flight Games how that planned obsolescence worked for X-Wing. Oof. Your battle reports are the best on the internet. Why, thank you, sir. Oh, hey, Eric, how you doing? I was just talking about how amazingly excited I am for this weekend and slightly stressed out of my mind. Hey, Miranda, the owners of Indie Storm are all here watching. Oh, gosh. I mean, it's going to be a totally great tournament. Nothing could possibly go wrong. I'm totally prepared for this. Tournaments sound quite intimidating. I've never been to a convention, but I would love to go sometimes. So I have found local game store tournaments to be like a little bit more frustrating than conventions where, you know, bigger conventions where you head out. What am I looking for? I'm looking for the color black. There it is. And that's just because, like, when there's so many people, at least my experience of it is if there's so many people there, there's no point in being a jerk. Like, there's just too much social contract to kind of prevent that. Everybody sort of wants to be on their best behavior, and people are more likely to, you know, make sure they've bathed and all that super good stuff that I really don't ever see as a problem with gamers, like very rarely, but always gets commented on, right? So yeah, tournaments are fine and fun. It's just the stress of prepping, and I get psyched out. So, you know, Saturday morning I might skip breakfast or puke or something, and then I'll be good to go. Totally fine. Viper Taha. Your channel started in 2012. Isn't that when the world ended? Coincidence? I think not. Well, you know, the rumors of ending the world have been greatly exaggerated for centuries. But who knows? There's always a new doomsday statement, isn't there? Let's just paint in that lovely black line and probably do with a bit of cleanup. Not gonna lie, my models are not gonna show up to the convention sealed. They're gonna need to be touched up, but at least they'll be painted, so hopefully I set a bit of a good example. I'm giving all this crap. I haven't even looked, like, once I pull out all my lists, I'm probably gonna see some holes. Someone's gonna be like, you missed a spot. And I have to throw my tape measure on them. Don't ever do that. That's horrible form. Oh, so yes, this has been my life. And then, what else have we got? Oh, so my friend Aaron from Cool Guys Nation is actually going to be attending Indie Storm as well. And he signed up for the Cthulhu RPG. So I should be out of the team tournament by the time that starts, and hopefully we'll have been able to get some food in there in between somewhere. So I'm probably going to do that too. So this is going to be kind of non-stop gaming this whole weekend. It's going to be intense. But my thought is, if the internet holds up, and Eric, you can probably let me know if that works or not, maybe like put some Instagram posts or do the whole social media thing that girls are supposed to be good at. You know, pose with like the victory sign and some models, or be pointing and laughing at the people I beat in games. Sounds fun. handy YouTube upgrade now, though. If I hold Alt, the chat freezes if it's going too fast. No kidding. That's cool. I didn't know that. John Cusack saved the channel in 2012. He got it on the boat. The bathing comments are uncalled for and mean. I mean, spend an hour commuting on a bus or trolley and you're exactly the same as someone gaming at a convention. Man, you're totally right. I mean, and I've heard that for legitimately years. And I've experienced it, and I usually blame it on Magic players, but even that's pretty unfair, technically. But no, wargamers, like, they're usually married dudes with families. They're used to socializing. It's not, I don't know, whatever that stereotype is. And most of the time when you hear about a stereotype, it's from something that's at least a decade or more old. Like, oh, girls don't play games. It's like, I grew up playing them. Like, that's not a thing anymore. Stop holding on to that. Like, all you're doing is trying to make them not play games by mentioning these stupid stereotypes over and over and over. So that got ranty. Let's back away from that. Positive, happy gaming. So I'm excited about my little Rager. I'm going to see how well he performs. Also got some shiny new Cater models that I got to practice with at Valhalla. And I will probably have them with me too. That said, I really don't know how this weekend's gonna go for me. Got the alt pop up as soon as your stream loaded. So that's how the channel stayed afloat. Oh, that's wonderful, Viper Taha. I love you. I also miss your battle reports. I really appreciate that. They have, I really appreciate that you guys like them. I'm really glad about that. And I do enjoy it when I get to make them. The preparation for them is always like the worst nightmarish part for me. And like recording them takes a long time, and it's like, I feel like I need to add something new to it. Like I need to kind of bring something more to the table, because battle reports across the board have gotten really good. I mean, obviously not, more people have done them, so there's a wide range of stuff, but I mean, you see Winter's SEO and you're like, oh wow, that's a really beautiful setup, and they kind of do this bantery style, but they're also sort of telling a story, and I really like that story element side of it. And so I've been like, okay, I want to do a battle report where I'm not fighting over a circle or rectangle ever again. I want to do a story-based one, because it turns out the Iron Kingdoms has some really fantastic stories and some really interesting environments. You can explore a lot of that. And they tried to do that. They tried to freaking do that with No Quarter when it was coming out. And they had their special scenarios like Nine Stone and the weird dragon one. You can do some really cool and interesting scenarios, but I mean, for whatever reason, none of that ever makes it into the competitive scene as far as Masters, Iron Gauntlet, etc. And so if I did a battle report, it would be on something like that, right? So if I do that, I want it to be exploring Nine Stone. I want it to be this cool terrain setup. Turns out when you do that, you have like vastly increased the amount of time it takes to prepare, because everything needs to get built from scratch, because Privateer doesn't make terrain sets. And so really good thing, I do have a 3D printer, so that helps, but it doesn't solve. It's still time, and you know, when you have a 3D printer, it's a filament one. It's nice, but you have lines, and so it's like, well, obviously I'm not just gonna let that fly, so it's gotta get sanded down, and it's gotta get painted and made to look just right. And I've shown some stuff on the live chat before, but there's like some cool Iosian buildings and things that I wanna make, and so there's been all of this build up for the last year of stuff. And there's gonna be some really awesome scenarios. So basically I'm kind of trying to go for a more story-based thing, because it seems more interesting than fighting over circles and rectangles, because who cares about that? Wow, I just ranted totally on. Todd, people still live in the 80s mentality of hobby gaming, it seems. I think you're totally right, Todd. But I think it's just an easy stereotype. Like, you don't have to think about it, and you can just like accuse these, you know, it's an excuse to look down on people, and I think it's unfortunate that it is so commonly attached to. DJ, painting question. Do you use let me see, I see you using crafting paints. Do you use a mixing medium to cut down the challenges? What kind? Or is it just water? If it's too thick, I'll use water. Otherwise, I just paint it and glob it on, and it seems to work okay. Now, everybody seems to have a little bit of a different experience with craft paints. I know that it was mentioned, for example, the metallics have poor coverage for some. I found them to be really good, but I also like shake and super mix them very thoroughly. Newer paints don't really seem to need watering down as much, and that's about the extent of it. I'm not doing anything terribly fancy. And I also use null oil to wash over everything, and it makes everything look amazing because it really is liquid talent, and I love it. Skydiving battle reports. Take it to the extreme and bring it to the viewers. Oh my gosh. So I recorded like a 15-point game. That would take about an hour to record. And I think when you skydive, at the most you're in the air for like 3 minutes. And, you know, part of that time should be pulling the ripcord. Probably. Fun fact, my dad went skydiving like 3 months ago now. Because he comes over every so often and we I take him to the movies and we hang out and watch like movies, right? And he didn't tell me because I'd been handling Valhalla for like the last month and was just like super focused on that. Get home, you know, he'd visited or whatever at one point, and it just randomly came up because he had lost some weight or whatever, and I'm like, oh yeah, you got kind of skinny. And he's like, oh well, you know, went skydiving. I'm like, he's not young. And so that was kind of shocking. So now I have to have my dad and maybe go skydiving. Whoa, sorry, totally missing more of the chat here. There we go. Completely agree on the story-driven scenario. Thank you, J.M. Scott. They are more enjoyable overall, especially if you can tie them into a campaign. Yes, exactly. And here's my thought on that. Let me know if this sounds stupid. Is, you know, War Machine as a game, and there's this other game that nobody seems to care about anymore called Company of Iron. That's like the skirmish level game. So you could have a campaign where it's like, here's the main army moving forward. Here's like this skirmish thing happening over here that will affect the next battle. Hell, go into Undercity, which is this awesome board game that kind of is underrated because people really seem to hate the board. They also have Widower's Wood, which I haven't really played or explored, but you can tie all of that stuff in because it's all connected through the Iron Kingdom story. And you could tell this amazing RPG kind of story with, you know, the warcasters doing their thing. But Company of Iron can be your own characters, and, you know, Undercity could kind of be your own characters, or you're bringing in the mercenaries, whatever you want to do. So good. Alexander, you just missed some chat about Indie Storm this weekend. Yes. 80s mentality, I'll take metal over plastic any day. Gates, I totally used to feel that way. Unfortunately, metal models really do chip, and I drop stuff. So for me personally, and I'm also not the strongest person ever, and when you have like a whole backpack full of metal miniatures, you really, really feel that weight, especially on the shoulders. So I'm kind of happy to have moved toward plastics. Resins are all over the place. Love them or hate them, like it really, really depends on the resin. But plastics, kind of feel like they're in a good place. For terrain, I've started looking for those Department 56 collectible buildings. People sell them at yard sales and flea markets for dirt cheap sometimes, and they're pretty good scale for gaming. Snow hates winter. All right, quite a name. I don't know what Department 56 collectible buildings are, but I'm sure you're right. I've got some of the Pegasus terrain stuff, but that seems to apply more to 40K. Cool, let's try the null oil technique. Yeah, and null oil or Agrax Earthshade, Seraphim Sepia is another one. Any of the washes, they do a lot to just tie the miniature together. You know, it's like the dude's rug ties everything together. Halo jump one more time. Exactly. Zach, I'm glad you like my hair. Thank you, appreciate that. Random contribution. I've played 3 battles in Dust 1947 now. Wow. Well, go you, man. Probably beat me at this point. J. Alex is actually local, so we are going to be able to get in some Dust games together, which I'm very excited about because I've got 2 painted armies that the folks at Dust sent me, and I definitely need to get some coverage on. So if I have somebody that is reliable, that'd be awesome. Isn't Company of Iron's problem that not every faction lends itself to that? I don't know if that's necessarily the case. They're all just objective-based things, and it kind of depends on what you're doing. Any of the factions from War Machine and Hordes can play in Company of Iron. Pretty sure that's the case. Whether or not, like, it's perfectly balanced for that, I don't know. But if I'm doing a story-based campaign, I really don't care. Like, it won't matter. Heck yeah. Those are excellent tie-ins to a campaign. Even tie-ins to an RPG. Well, right? And so the RPG obviously lends itself heavily to miniature playing as well. So maybe I could do some stuff there. It's gotta be so exciting. Saw your paint job a couple days ago, and now I gotta say, amazing. Oh, thanks. I am not a good painter, but, you know, paint within the lines and keep the colors simple, and you get away with a lot. I have some lead figures from the 70s. They bend, but they don't break. Not even the spears. So you're concerned the plastic will break. I do have, so mostly I've found that the plastic will bend. I've got, for Grimkin actually, the piggybacks, their spears are a little bit squished in my battle foam case, and so they're very bendy. And you kind of just hair dryer it back to normal if you care enough to do that. So, yes. Thanks, Zach. Yes, Null and Oil, Agrex, Earthshade. The 2 requirements. Hey, Jay, how you doing? Hope Jen's around somewhere. Wait, Dust has new minis? I think so. I don't know. I have 2 armies. I have the Spetsnaz and I have the US, and they're both really cool looking, and I have this cool, like, high-end sort of helicopter thing that well, doesn't matter. Anyway. Let's see here. The last big campaign at my shop did a 40K/Kill Team crossover. What happened in Kill Team affected the 40K games the next day and made it easier for the attacker or the defender. See, and that would be a really fun thing to do as a proper tournament, right? To have the effects, you know, to have effects from your war game affect other games in the future. Like, that makes sense to me. But it's hard to keep that compartmentalized probably in a tournament setting. Plus, story-driven stuff isn't necessarily going to be the most balanced. You're going to have specific scenarios, especially attacker-defender scenarios, and trying to balance those can be very tricky. And again, No Quarter did try to do that. They had a cool Minoth campaign, or what is it, scenario, where they were the defender and they had these special weapons that you could use just for that scenario specifically, and then the attacker would come. And so there's stuff you could do, but I think for the most part it's hard to practice for that, and people just want to know the tournament rules and just go do it. So, circles and rectangles. I don't mean to sound so terribly judgy about it, but I did it for a long time, and I kind of find it super boring if you're watching it. I guess it's not so bad if you're playing it and you're trying to get this very specific thing done. But crikey, War Machine needs some help being like super fun and interesting again. It's like all of the coolest parts about it are being ignored right now. So Battletech, is that a video game or new miniatures coming out for it? Because it sounds like it's a video game if you guys are talking about Steam. War Machine needs a damn video game again, like a real one, or one that maybe they don't. Maybe they just let the developers do their thing on. I don't know, just thought. I don't know. I would definitely play a whatever Riot Quest, and I've mentioned this before, so this isn't new, but like whatever's going on with Riot Quest and everybody being in love with that, it really sounds like it should have been a video game more than a miniature game. But, hey man, I just work here. What color to make Mava Jack's fess? That's a good question. Do I go with the brass chin strap thingy or a silver one? Let me double check. Jen's working. I'm exhausted after work. Figured I'd stop and say hello. Well, I appreciate you doing that. Tell her I said hi and hope she gets some rest. For sure. Yes, they have Cthulhu-esque faction. Oh yeah, that's right. The Mythos army, I believe, is how they... Dust helicopters are awesome. The rotors spin. I know. It's like, that's a toy. Yay! But, yeah. Miranda, have you ever tried oils or enamel paints over your acrylics? I have not. That sounds fancy. Not above it. I just, usually it's more of a timing issue by the time I get around to painting. Like, this is the most organized painting I do. Sometimes, like, people will come over, or my dad will refuse to leave because he's just, like, yaps forever. Bless his heart. And so I'll just start painting because then I'm like, okay, well, at least I'm doing something productive while I'm doing this, which I know sounds crappy, but I'm very, very overscheduled. So let me see here. War Machine Rager. What do you look like, you handsome devil? Silverface, huh? But I kind of want him to have a gold chin, so that's what I'm going to do. Sometimes you just see the thing you don't want to do, and that's what decides it, right? Try to get my hands on the Cage Rager. Oh yeah, he's awesome. Privateer's going to be out of stock for the next few months due to issues with their Chinese plastic suppliers. Well, probably good. Give it a little bit of time for that virus to cool down and die. So, you know, probably all right. Probably worth it. Last game I remembered if too many kill team players smashed shield generators, certain 40k players wouldn't have it the next day. Yikes. Steam must be vaporware then. Wah wah. Alex, a new video game for Battletech was released about a year ago. I don't know about the minifigures game. I haven't touched that one in decades. Battletech has both a new expansion for the video game, and there's a new edition of the mini war game out somewhat recently. Oh, both. Okay, well, that explains why I didn't know. Battletech had a Kickstarter and the Alpha Strike rules. Be adventurous. Use purple for the chin strap. You sound like Paul. Oh, talking so much. Yep. Yeah, the only time I owned purple paint was when I was painting a miniature for Paul. And I had to go to the Games Workshop store. I'm like, I need a purple. And that freaking store is on the opposite end of town from me, so you're welcome, good sir. Yeah, so we are going with gold, which in my case is brassy gold, which means it starts off with a lovely shade of brown. This is nutmeg brown from my wonderful craft paints collection, brought to you by whoever makes it. I need sponsorship by those folks. I use so much of their paint. And since I've been doing some more cosplay stuff, it's really useful for that too, it turns out. So, there you go. Alright, so yes, it looks like I'm globbing it on, and I am, but then I'm moving it around, because you don't actually ever want your paint to go on so thick that it's covering up the details. Then it looks like you've painted with Elmer's glue, and nobody likes that outcome. Then that poor model just ends up in a bit spin years later, needing to get stripped by, what is it, super clean purple stuff. It's just a sad life. And that's if the person bothers to do it. So, anyway. Try to go on with reasonably thin coats, and I guess I use a fairly wet brush, and that's kind of what thins it for me without me actively thinning the paints in the either in the pot or on the palette. I use these amazing little dollar store thingies that have worked amazingly as a palette, and since they're that really slick plastic, whenever the acrylic glue dries, you just pull the dried paint out of it. It's super easy. Are you going to name the Rager Victor Shudi Stompov? Stompov? Ooh, that's a good name. Stompov. Mr. Stompov. If I remember, yes. Flagovich was kind of a stretch for me to be able to remember, but, you know, we spent hours together getting him all sorted out, and so little Stanley's ready to go. I don't normally name my warjacks, but Stompov sounds kind of awesome. So thank you. Oh dear. Oh, you look like someone who needs to get banned. Bye. I let my brother paint one of my 40k models last week, and he didn't thin the paint. He looked like a Play-Doh monster. Oh, so sad. That's what I worry about when using craft paints, not thinning it enough. Yeah, but I mean, it's not the end of the world. It doesn't dry instantly, so if you feel like you've globbed on too much, then you can just sort of wipe the brush off and then go over it as a dry brush to pull the paint back out. Or at least I've been able to do that. I assume that's how it works normally. And that's not just being weird for me. Man, I got the base coats. I honestly can't remember if I painted the base cuts on this thing or not. Like the outlining of it seems weird and sloppy, like I would have done it, but this has to be like me picking up a model that I kind of worked on a year ago. The Rager's been out a while. I didn't end up getting the other one. What is it? The Rager and the, oh, what is his name? The other chassis for the Berserker. The one that likes to ram things and whatever. So, ho hum. Alright, well, we can work on the gold. I guess it's kind of dry enough now, although we definitely need to get something going on in there. I think I'm becoming allergic to super glue. It stops up my nose for hours afterward. Oh, wow. That's a really strong reaction. And I know you can develop allergies later in life, but geez, that's scary. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you there. How it would stop up your nose? I guess if you tried a respirator when you used it, and just to make sure, whether, you know, to see whether or not that was still your response, and whether or not it comes from like breathing the fumes or not. So that's a thought, I suppose. It's kind of crazy. Yes, I've had that happen. Watch out for fumes. There you go. Skirmish War Games. We spent the first 2 weeks of January painting, trying to put a dent in the mountain of shame. Still have unpainted dwarves from 1991. We do what we can. Very true, good sir. Very true. And that's the thing. It's like, once this model's painted, even only to a certain point, and yes, there's that whole like never done situation that I'm horribly guilty of, but it's still more than silver models or just primed models, or if you're Twisted Bishop, making an amazing joke about just people gluing boxes to bases to play with. You know, it's better than that, right? And progress is progress, so take it where you can get it. All right, let's try a little dry brushy brush. So the whole point is, of course, that's a very dry brush and not still wet from the paint pot. So not paint pot, but the water pot, the anti-tipping water pot, because I need that. There we go. Ta-da! Let's a little bit going on here. Doesn't have to be crazy, it just needs to sort of be implied brassiness. Once you get some shine on there, then it's generally accepted as gold and good enough. And I try to sort of do the less is more technique where possible. Unless I'm painting a Night Haunt, in which case I'm like, go crazy with that gray, but that's neither here nor there. Ta-da! So now that's gold. That's gold. Whereas like everything else that you see that's brown is just brown yet. But that's actually got a shine. Good enough. It's going to get knocked down a bit after I get the null and oil on, and then you sort of bring it back up with some little dry brushing. Just sort of touch it up every, you don't have to be as thorough, I should say, because it's sooty after all. Sooty. Or use the glue in an airbrush hood. Oh yeah, if you have one of those, it's probably a good idea. I think respirators might be a little easier to get a hold of, but they expire, so an airbrush hood might be a good choice as well. But if you're having a weird reaction to it, like, never underestimate freaking chemical fumes. Whenever I was doing my my ridiculous resin project back in, gosh, I guess it was 2013, for the clockwork towers we made. Holy cow. Man 200, the resin release spray, I had like a super allergic reaction to. Just it actually would cause like anywhere there was even like remote skin contact, and it's an aerosol, so that's super helpful. I would just have like welts show up. It was crazy. I hated that. So, yeah. And allergic reactions don't get better. You don't just get immune to it on your own. Usually they get worse. You get what the heck's it called? They get more dramatic until your whole system shuts down and stuff. It's a, I'll remember the word later, apparently. But basically it's a really strong and bad reaction. So don't mess around. If you're getting that, try the airbrush hood, try a respirator. Recognize that is a problem. Sounds like you might have an allergy to super glue, maybe a small fan near your workspace, and a mask. Have a respirator, just don't like wearing it. I know they're uncomfortable and they can get hard to breathe through, but it's probably worth it. Become a big fan of super glue gel, much easier to work with. Samuel, oh my gosh, I know, right? I love super glue gel, and it's worked very well for me. Can't die until your models are painted. Buy more models. I'll never die. Everyone in here is immortal then, everybody, because there will always be more miniatures to paint. Let's see, I used the gel control version. I recently discovered the Tamiya extra thin cement for plastics. I prefer super glue, but that cement is awesome and doesn't stop up my nose. It just kills my brain cells. Oh, goody. Hi, Munsall Reviews. Welcome. Appreciate you joining the chat. We're just yammering on about whatever. Let's see here. Well, I'm heading off, Miranda. Thank you for hanging out, Mandragora. It's always good seeing you. I'll share pics of my sister squad when I finish the wood and touch up the white cloth. If you thought making whites brighter and not artificial in laundry was tough. Ooh, yes. Imagine a hobbyist afterlife where one is forced to finish all one's projects. If you feel like you actually had the time to do it, it might not be the worst thing. I think the problem is, at least I'm pretty guilty of it, is I paint my models whenever I'm like trying to get them ready for something. Because I can't just sit down and just paint a model. Because then like what the hell model am I even going to pick? But if I have a list and I'm like, oh, I'm taking all this stuff. Paint. If I don't feel the panic of getting ready, then it's probably really enjoyable. I managed to kill one of my just get paint on brushes tonight. Somehow got super glue in its core. Ooh, yikes. Gotta have your priorities. You have to be immortal to get into Valhalla, right? Then you can game forever. That's right, it's where it starts, and then you kind of just relive, die and relive it. This week's project, Chronic X minis, character minis, 1 done so far. 5 more to go, plus the aliens. The sculpts look fantastic. Oh, good. Well, that's really cool too, right? When you see like a really well sculpted model, because then as you're painting it is when you see more and more of the detail, like the little filigrees or skulls. You can never have enough skulls on a miniature, right? A bajillion rivets. So those are always kind of nice. That's why I like these weekly chats. I get so much more painting done because of it. Hey, Conan, welcome. Oh no, Paul will be right back. You guys behave until then. Oh, good, he's back. Everything's fine. I am glad that they are helpful. They're certainly helpful to me, and honestly, I super enjoy the company because you guys are interesting. All right, we're back to this dry brushing business. Trying not to be too terribly distracted as I paint here. This brush is still a little too on the wet side. For whatever reason, I feel like I've been overthinking my dry brush technique lately. It's been like not working as well. I don't know, probably just being a weirdo, panicking. There we go. Just smush that right on your face there. Good job. Good job. Yeah, I like the brassy kind of metal frame, especially since like the underside and all that's metal, and so it seems like you lose the detail if just too much of it is all plain Jane metal. I think I might go with just black for the back of that. And he needs a little more red, and then he kind of is pretty much doing okay at that point. Then he needs his soot wash, also known as null oil, liquid talent. But, you know, arc basing is done. It doesn't have snow, but most people don't even notice that on the model until, like, that's literally the very last step for me. It's like I start with the base and end with the base by getting the snow on there. Haven't gotten snow on my minis in a while. But this guy is totally playable. Arc markers, multiple colors. He looks like he is a semi-sentient robot. I'd believe it. Whatever. So jealous I wanted Chronicle X, but I didn't have the funds at the time. I'm sure it'll come out, be more accessible to folks later on. I have a Group Me monthly contest thing. Keeps me motivated to finish at least one figure each month. Working to finish one now, actually. Oh, that's a good idea. Elvidril? Appreciate it. Those minis are awesome. Speaking of rivets, Green Stuff World has rivet making molds where you can make more rivets. Oh my. Sometimes they're stingy on the model, so it makes sense, I suppose. What am I doing? I guess I really kind of need to get some more metal on him. Oh, I'm not totally done with the brass. I keep getting distracted. Gosh, Paul. He's my moderator. It means I blame him for stuff, too, because that's what friends do. All right. Got a nice little metal belt going on there. We got some of the shiny metal here. So he's brassified pretty well. Now that red is a little bright for my taste, so that's why I definitely get the null oil on it. I'll try to take it easy and not make him quite so overly city like I did with my tank striker guy. It's a little excessive, a little much. So we're gonna chill on that with my null oil stuff tonight. Tried to chat and build the same time with my Grimwatch. 3 models in 90 minutes didn't really work. Easier to listen. Fair enough. Whew. What product of snow do you use? Oh, I knew you'd ask that. It is spackle. Yes, spackle seems to be what I have found works best. Do I have a finished miniature up here that I can grab? Hold that thought. I'll show you what I'm working with. Hold that. Battle phone. This is not the one I'm taking to Indie Storm, but it is what has held my minis for years and years and years and has held up. So kudos to Battle phone, man. Let's see here. So say we've got my little Rocketeer man here. Old model. This thing got painted. Probably one of my earliest models to get painted, right? And so he's actually finished, sealed, and all that. This is literally just spackle, like what you do to fill your walls. And I found that it had the effect I wanted. Little bit of a, it's not the fuzzy, flocky snow that looks very fluffy. This is just more, I don't know, goopy, I guess. But I kind of liked the aesthetic of it, and I liked the contrast on it. So that is what I use for snow. And it really just sort of gets globbed on. It goes on pink and then dries white, and it's lovely. Let's see, Plastruct Bonding, white label for most plastics. No awful smell like most plastic welders. Been using it for years. Oh, nice. Cater marches ever forward. There is no snow in the south. Yes, I love how it works when I need less drying time. I used to use old crappy tubes with car and plane models. The Tamaya bottle is huge and the applicator is awesome. Nice. Cador! So much Cador. If you need rivets, there's a company for model railroads that makes little plastic rivets in different sizes. Isn't that amazing that that can be a whole business? I mean, I'm sure that's not the only thing they do, but I mean, railroad enthusiasts are some of the earliest hobbyists, and they put extreme care into their stuff, and I am glad that actually, like, the scaling ends up kind of working pretty close, and then when they make industrial looking little things, it works great. It's wonderful. Let's see here. I once read a book on how ships are held together. Riveting. That was amazing. Good job. A+. I want to reward you. I love puns so much. I use baking soda for my snow. Yeah, and that's a top. That's a pretty common one too. Is the spackle painted? Nope. Yes, old ship building is pretty interesting. That and when they put brass plating on the bottom of the ships for barnacles. Ooh, yes. No, the spackle literally just dries as is and then it's sealed and done. Oof. Talking so excitedly and making myself tired. Random side note, because I can't help but talk about entertainment industry. I went and saw The Gentleman yesterday, which is the new Guy Ritchie film, and I quite enjoyed it. So if you are looking for a movie to go see this weekend and The Gentleman is playing nearby, and you're not taking small children to it because it's violent, I recommend The Gentleman. It was quite good. Especially since it's January and there aren't really a lot of good movies playing in January, so that one was fun. Bad Boys 3 is pretty good. It's about what you expect. And I'm almost through the Witcher series, and quite honestly, I feel like it's grossly overrated. But I haven't played the video games or read the books, so maybe I'm just missing something really obvious. Or it's a garbage translation, which I felt like the Sort of Truth series had when they made their series. Which really pissed me off, because Terry Goodkind was one of the screenwriters on that, and you know he was just phoning it in. BS. Whew. Sorry, I'm really feeling way too bold tonight. I'm in too much of a hurry. Get the models painted, I have to go fight people. I'm so excited to do it though. Like, the thrill of getting ready for a tournament, I forgot how much I actually really enjoyed that. Because even when I go to Adepticon, I'm not usually signed up for any of the tournaments, because, well, except for the team tournament, where I played doubles with Aaron and we played 40K, and that was super, super fun. Like, I don't know. Hobby tournaments, the tournaments at the big conventions have been super fun, so sure Eric will run a fine convention. I have full confidence. Oh my. So weird when you have like the weird side planes on a model and you kind of have to determine the material it's made of. So I'm just deciding this is all silver. Cut the line in there just to kind of make it look right. But it's sort of just this weird plane, right? And it could be anything. It could have been red, or I could have maybe drawn the line or taped it in, or I don't know. Anyway, yammering on again. I'm a recovering railroad modeler. Oh, so you're used to being broke, I'm sure. Verlinden Products makes some nuts and bolts sticking through that you can cut off and put on your models. Nice. I have a friend who has a model railroad. He freaked over when I showed him a model with the exact green he'd been looking for ages. Gifted him some. Aw. Did you watch The Mandalorian? I have seen episode 1 of The Mandalorian, but I don't own Disney Plus, so I have to go over to my friend's house and see the rest of it, and I just haven't done that yet because I'm a horrible friend. So, I see her Thursday. She's actually getting ready to move in April, which makes me actually really sad, but so we're going to tea. We're going to a Downton Abbey themed tea, which, you know, I like to think I have many hobbies, and I do so love me a tea party. So yeah, I'll talk to her about when we can come by and see the rest of Mandalorian, because I'm curious. I'm still very mistrustful of this Baby Yoda business, but I will totally give it a shot. And I don't think any of the other new shows have come out, right? Have any of the Marvel series come out on Disney Plus yet? There's a WandaVision, Loki. I think there was one for Hawkeye. Is that all still happening? It's a thing, right? So no, I haven't finished watching Mandalorian. I have 1 episode left of The Witcher, and then it's probably my TV for a while. I used to use a lot of items that are available in Model Chain Hobbies. If you haven't, do check them out. The Witcher series is overrated. Ford versus Ferrari. Ford versus Ferrari was fantastic. I'm trying to remember the other one there was. I think Chris Hemsworth played a Formula One driver. I think it was him that played the Formula One driving. It was, I'm not remembering the names of any of these movies. Very similar sort of biopic movie about these people. And Ford versus Ferrari definitely had that. Christian Bale did a phenomenal job. And the racing stuff is really interesting. And, you know, if you know the real life story, then it's the whole story, you know? And so it's interesting. Kind of a cool little historical piece I didn't know about. And there you go. Ford kicking butt at Le Mans. And then, of course, you know, as he's racing across the finish line, I'm all like, America! I didn't really do that, but in my heart, I kind of thought that, because it's nice to see, like, old school competition and, like, the spirit of ingenuity. Good times. Do you ever watch The Expanse? No. Miranda, did you ever do damage on your character models? Only if it's modeled on there, so, like, Dragos, I think, has stuff on him. Yeah, you can see he's got, like, nicks and stuff on his armor. So I'll fill those in, but I don't actually do, like, my own scratch marks. And I'm also grossly intimidated by things like rust effects. So I know someone who does them, and I'll let him do that. I'm more like, I paint the thing, and then it's painted, and then I play the game. So, no, I haven't messaged that one. No, I haven't watched The Expanse. I don't know when I'll get around to most of that stuff. I honestly still am sort of in love with the old Star Trek series and just sort of exploring all of that and realizing how much I actually enjoy 60s television. Except for that weird, creepy banana thing you guys were talking about a couple weeks ago that freaked me out. I'm just, no. Back in. Oh no, you didn't know you got kicked out. Star Trek Picard came out last Friday. I thought my body was ready. I was mistaken. So my friend Erin was telling me that Picard is so good, I need to see it. It is going to be a while before I get around to Picard, because I'm going through the original series, then I'm going through Next Generation, then I'm going to, of course, see all the movies for the Star Trek series in order, and Deep Space Nine, and then Voyager, and then what was it after that? Was it Enterprise after that? Yeah. And then, I guess, Discovery, and then Picard. So, cue up there, Mr. Picard. Rush is the movie. Is it Rush? Maybe so. No, that doesn't seem familiar, but you're probably right. None of the Marvel shows are out yet. I heard Hawkeye has been put on the back burner. Ooh, I wonder why. Interesting. Great series so far. Do you like sci-fi? Check out The Expanse. I do love, actually, sci-fi. I really, really enjoy sci-fi. The last good sci-fi I watched. So have you guys seen the previews for that movie Tenet that's coming out? Like, I love the way they cut the previews because it doesn't tell you anything at all. And so it's got me completely, like, intrigued. But it doesn't come out until July. And so I'm curious about that because it's one of those, like, high-concept movies. Feels like it's really hard to get good sci-fi movies because they always want to, like, biff the ending. Ex Machina is a really, really interesting, good one. Upgrade was a fantastic one, like totally slipped under the radar for me. I ended up seeing it at the Dollar Theater and like just sort of being blown away by how interesting it was. So, have you watched Ascension? I have not. Are these all TV? Because if it's TV, I most likely have not seen it. Voyager was the best. I did love me some 7 of 9 and the Doctor. Like, their relationship, so wonderful. Yeah, so freaking good. There are some Star Trek episodes on YouTube from a second-party guy who played Sulu, who on one of the series. Oh, interesting. I know there's some of the like alternative, the fan-made episodes where they brought Apollo back for one, and then there was another one. I guess I've seen them both, but I only remember the Apollo one, so I'll have to rewatch the other one. Yes. Upgrade is very underrated. Jay and Scott, you know what I'm talking about. It was a really good movie. And yeah, I'm just curious, like, it could be terrible, but I doubt it. Like, it looks like an interesting concept. It really depends on what the thing is they're doing. I'm trying to remember other sci-fi I saw. Interstellar was really solid. True space horror, honestly. Like, they really drove that idea home. Annihilation was terribly boring. I wasn't a huge fan of Gravity either, the Sandra Bullock one. Like, I think it got a little too self-indulgent. But, I don't know. I guess I'm kind of picky about my sci-fis, but, you know. It's supposed to be about ideas, not just one individual's, like, personal issues. And I think that's where something like Upgrade's sort of interesting, or Ex Machina is really interesting, because you're kind of looking at some of the logical conclusions of the ideas you're pursuing, or potential ideas. And of course, you know, I read the dystopian novels, and so I'm waiting for that to happen. Oh yeah, I guess I saw Terminator. That was okay. It was pretty okay. I wanted to see Upgrade. The concept looked appealing to me, almost as if Kit has a brain chip instead of a car. Sort of. If you get the chance, if you see it on streaming, like, give it the opportunity. It's grossly underrated, and it's a solid movie. I have to wait until my son gets caught up to watch Picard. He's finishing up Next Generation and DS9. There's like a bunch of seasons of DS9, isn't there? Hey, Space Wolves, welcome. We were talking about miniatures and then getting ready for tournaments, and me stressing out about that, and then I just started talking about movies and TV because it's the other thing I really love and can yammer on endlessly about. So that's what's going on here. Tenet, thanks, autocorrect. Just painting another Khador. I have endless Khador, just so you know. In fact, I could start painting some Grimkin, but that's gonna have to wait because I'm totally ready for this weekend, Eric. It's gonna be great. You just see what I'm. Well, share it on my Facebook, man. If you want to see her good sci-fi, what's funny? Iron Sky. Iron Sky. I think I know the one you're talking about. That was an older one, I think. Gotta go work. Good luck in the tournament. Thank you, Mansar. Take care. Off topic, but will you be at Adepticon this year? That's the hope. I bought the tickets, and then I haven't actually planned the trip or purchased the hotel because it's really, really expensive, and I'm kind of waiting and hoping that there's like some sort of last-minute drop or something. So I'm trying. Malignants are coming through. Haven't started on the Grimkins yet. Grimkin are super fun to paint. I loved painting my Murder Crows. They're great. Oh, they're kind of rebooting The Thing. Oh no. The new one will be based on both short novels instead of just one. No. Event Horizon is space horror done right. Trigger warning to anyone with PTSD. Event Horizon is super solid until the third act, and then it becomes a Clive Barker slasher movie. And Sunshine did exactly the same thing because that movie stressed me out to watch. Like the first 2/3 of that movie, beautifully done sci-fi, where they're handling these, you know, seemingly realistic issues that you deal with in space. There's a greenhouse. There's like this little, the shield or something. They had this huge shield that blocks the sun, but it's just this one-sided like a dish, and it wasn't aligned perfectly right, and just like the little bit of sunlight that got through like destroys part of the ship, and they're like trying to cope and deal with that, and you're like feeling the stress of them trying to overcome these problems intellectually. And then it becomes a Clive Barker slasher film. Like, I don't know why that's like the go-to for sci-fi sometimes. It's Event Horizon had that problem, and it's a really good movie otherwise, like, and it's legitimately pretty scary, and people behave practically, because I still remember the Morpheus being like, oh no, saying we are leaving, right? Because that's the practical thing you do, and oh my gosh, what's more isolating than being on a spaceship? Oh, so good. It's actually why Space Hulk is actually a really fun board game for me too. If you think about the idea of, I mean, you're Terminator, so you're not that scared of things, but being on this crazy, huge hulk of a ship with an alien menace that can take you just anywhere. It could be anywhere. Oh, so good. I like Clive Barker. Clive Barker's fine. He should just maybe stay in his lane and not like cross over and careen into, sci-fi. Just saying. Definitely one of the creepier ones. Should get up and paint some more, but seeing I have to be at work at 5 in the morning, it probably won't happen. Oof. Take a break, man. I meant brutal in a good way. I agree with Clive Barker third act, though undeniably better than Hellraiser in space. Probably, but I didn't watch any of the Hellraiser movies. Sam Neill ripping his own eyes out gave me nightmares. Pretty freaky, for sure. That Horizon was great, but still creepy. It is. Has anyone here seen the old Silent Running movie, early 1970s sci-fi movie? No. Mother was cool. Then Aliens 1 through 3. Fair enough. Well, to tell you the truth, I love nostalgias. Event Horizon is a great 40K movie. Yeah, so is Pitch Black and Chronicles of Riddick, and I think there was even a lawsuit involving that because clearly Vin Diesel's a 40K player. Space Hulk was the first real board game I ever played back in the 80s. Makes you feel old. Oh, I'm sorry. These are good memories, right? Clive Barker is like a blind driver. He careens into every genre. Jeez. Space Hulk is aliens versus Predator versus Space Marines without the Predator. Precisely. Well, I mostly talked instead of painting this guy, but his basing is pretty well done, so, he could totally run up and shank you with his little gladius. Isn't that cute? Good enough. I am going to get some black in the smokestacks. Can't have this primer business showing through. Plus, actually, I'm going to use the wrought iron. I like the way that... So this is my off black, which looks really, really good when you null oil it. I don't know. Off black is the way I like to paint miniatures. Unfortunately, it gets really gross and chunky, so I sort of have to work with it. Ooh, yeah, that's not really how you want the paint to show up on the brush. Just goopy like that. Gross. Alright, anyway, it's sort of like this greenish black, and you can't really tell once the layers are on and you have black washed it, but it just adds a little bit of texture, I guess. Whereas black is, like pure black is negative space on the miniature. And so I don't really like that for large parts of the model. It looks a little too, well, it takes away detail, I guess. Bottom line. That on there. Paint hasn't been aging well, but whatever. Type of purgatory where you have to paint every miniature you own. I guess if you actually can reach the end of that, that'd be interesting. Do you get out of purgatory that way? Junky. There we go. It's a little rough on that, so what I'm going to do, smooth it out with a wet brush. Not a soaking wet brush, just a somewhat wet brush. And then you can see that the paint smooths out significantly. And then it'll dry, and then there will be another layer put on it, and then it'll be black washed, which again, totally smooths everything out and makes it perfect, because that's really cool. I hate typing on glass. Typing on glass sounds awful. Why are you doing that? Chunky Paints brought to you by Wargame. No, I don't think I should have a painting brand. I think it would be like dirt cheap, get her done in paint. It would be like represented by Larry the Cable Guy. Just like, although I suppose contrast paints are kind of going that way. It's called Paint and Talk for a reason. You can adjust the percentages as you see fit. Thank you, Jean. I appreciate the excuses you supply for me. Wouldn't Tau be the Predator with their pulse rifles? No, Predators are actually like physically capable. Or Tau, they have amazing guns and good technology, but I don't think they're like high-fiving on, unless you're looking at, what are they, Farseers or something like that? The special ones. Space Hulk. Space Hulk movie would be cool. I mean, it kind of was Event Horizon in a way. I mean, barring the Space Marines. Have a great time at IndieCon, I think it was called. Yes, it is. I'll be starting work on my new sister soon. Got most of it in the mail. Oh, sweet. Speaking of AVP, I really wished Protoss AVP game was better. Especially the models. I'm a sucker for aliens, but damn those resin models. You look at them wrong and the parts fall off. I think that was an issue with the Robotech miniature model kits. You're not allowed to call them just a miniature game because that was a weird issue or stipulation or whatever. It reminds me of Star Trek episode with Data. Oh, Data's my favorite. One of my favorites. I don't know. There's so many characters I love in Star Trek. It's like, oh, Spock, you're so interesting. But Kirk, I like actually super respect you. Doctor, you're okay. And then like Picard, it's like, you're kind of a jerk, but I like you too. And then Data is just fantastic. And then Riker, can't go wrong. Oh, so many good characters in Star Trek. Anyone else notice the chunky GW airbrush paints on their own video for them when they poured it directly into the airbrush from the pot? Ooh, that's not good. Don't forget, if you want to do good for the neighborhood, press the like button. Aw, thank you, Kuneman Studios. He knows what's up. Make sure to hit that like. I got paint on the models and I talked. I did exactly what is in this video, as Jean pointed out. Cool, the Jack is looking good. Yeah, he's doing all right. He could use some silver, he could use some more stuff, but I think he's gonna have to be good enough for this tournament because I got some stuff to assemble still. I'm on a mobile device and hated it. I'd rather have an old Nokia or BlackBerry keypad instead. I'm sorry. You might explore, if you can, I mean, I don't know if you're in a noisy environment, but the talk to text features have gotten pretty good. If I remember, Kirsty calls up Pinhead by accident and exchanged her cheating husband for her. Oh dear, works all the way. AVP Kickstarter box game is great. I wish they'd bring it back again. Ooh, awesome. Oh man, it's fantastic. Oh, man, so much to do. All right, we're gonna get this next layer on here. We're almost there. And yes, it's a little bit chunky. So craft paints aren't like, they're 50 cents a pot, so, you kind of get what you get here, but the coverage, once you layer it, generally is decent. Especially if you remember to keep your brush reasonably wet. So, that's what I'm doing. And the variety of colors are super nice because while Citadel also has an impressive array of colors, turns out I don't like paying $5 to $7 per pot, especially the contrast paints. Crikey, they're like 7 something. I don't know. I'm a cheapskate, obviously, when it comes to my painting, so. Data's my favorite. I still need to go greet Brent Spiner at a con. I barely missed him on set when we were working together. Ah, it's awesome! You barely missed. Ah, that would drive me nuts. Be like, I need to go find out where he's staying. Totally be a creep. Apparently, because it's not far from my house, there's like a really nice neighborhood, like a little ways east of me. And Johnny Depp was staying there when we were filming Lone Ranger. Yeah, because Lone Ranger was filmed out here. And so that was a whole thing. Never saw him though, because my daddy went out and, well, let's be real, I don't really leave my house if I don't have to. So. But I did meet Chris Hemsworth at Barnes & Noble. That was lovely. He's so pretty. And very nice, for the record. It's so weird Albuquerque has, like, an actual movie industry, like, up and coming. Because Netflix is stationed here now. Like, they're big buildings. They took over the old Sony studios that were here, and then I think they went bankrupt because they poured some really good money into those studios. And so they're really state-of-the-art because they're some of the newer studios built in the country. And so now Netflix has them. So we should see some fun stuff. If you go downtown Albuquerque, you always see like something getting filmed. It's kind of a neat thing to have here as far as kind of industry goes, you know. There we go. Get my little sooty smokestacks going. Much cleaner. You know, just make it look more finished. Aw, thanks, Basil, you're kind. At least your stuff will be well painted. That's true. Even if I lose every single game, at least I can be like, wow, I painted my stuff. And who knows? Maybe everyone else will have painted their stuff too, and I'll be like, oh my gosh, I need to shake your hand because thank you so much for actually respecting this hobby enough to do that. Good luck at the tournament. Oof, both of them. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. Do you ever use oil paints with acrylics? I've been trying this lately, and enamel weathering effects and washes. Oils are fantastic for blending, and the enamel products are so fun to work with. I have not messed with either of those. It sounds pretty intimidating, but it's probably pretty, I mean, I don't know. Note to self using craft, keep brush wet. Yeah, that's generally a good rule. I don't know, using oils on top of the acrylics. I guess I don't really blend the mediums that way, so I paint with oils on canvas. I might try it on a mini. It would take forever to dry, but so much easier to blend. Fair enough. There's a Japanese company that made a couple of models from Aliens, and they made the APC, the Nostromo Ripley, and the Power Loader, and Alien. They were all good quality. Nice. It drove me nuts, yes, but he was about to wrap and surrounded by a line of fans. I didn't want to run through them and be that guy. That's fair. Have a good stream weekend, bailing out for the night. Have a good one, man. Thanks for hanging out. Are you going to launch your movie acting career? We'll see. I'm pretty sure any movie I'd get in would have to be one I made myself. But I'm not afraid to do that. We had Get Carter filmed in Newcastle. That's about it. Get John Carter? Or a different Carter? Night, Kahneman. Appreciate you hanging out. Zat Kaskagan? Why does that sound familiar? Alright, check it out. I have copied it to my clipboard. So fancy. Whew, 3 minutes left. Whatever. This thing's painted. My Rager's ready to go. He's gonna stab something this weekend. I can be confident of that. Oh man. Oh wait. I have to get the Cater emblem on. I totally missed that little bit of gold. Can't have that. Cater's proud. It must have. There we go. Ah, that's better. Gotta keep that insignia burning bright. We can get a little bit of the brass up on the top too, honestly. Although I can be really light on that because this is where the smokestacks are, so obviously they will be incredibly sooty. Whew! Almost messed that up and almost put my paintbrush in my tea, which didn't happen, so yay for that. Time to go watch some Star Trek. Yay! Good night, all. Good luck at the tourney. Thank you. This time next week, I'll tell you how it went, unless you're following me on like Twitter or Instagram, in which case you'll probably know how it went anyway. But it'll be good. It'll be good. Even if you lose games, it's still fun to just be able to play them in an environment where everybody's excited to be playing games. So, thank you all for the good wishes. I hope you guys got some stuff done too. He does the grimdark style using oil and acrylic. It's actually shockingly easy to get amazing results. All right, we'll check it out. You could become a movie extra. I've done it before. It pays about as much as playing moms. I technically am a tiny snippet extra in season 3 of Better Call Saul. I haven't watched the show. I watched season 1 and I liked it. I just didn't get back to it. So yeah, I'm technically an extra in a scene of that. Never missed the album. I know. I almost did, but I didn't. So there you go. It's good. Good. All right, that's it. We're calling it. You guys have a wonderful night and a wonderful week and a wonderful weekend. And I'll let you know how I did.